How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of Motoring Mistakes. Today I'm in my partner's Mini Cooper. This is what I think to be one of the best city cars you can buy, really. So this is the 1.5 litre petrol engine. It's running at about 130 brake horsepower, 0 to 60, about 8.5 seconds, something like that. It's not made for speed, it's not the Cooper S. It's just a standard Cooper, but in convertible version. This one has the optioned automatic gearbox, which I really like. I think if you're going to have a city car, then the automatic gearbox is the way to go. This car will do about 45 miles to the gallon as well. And being that petrol is currently about £1.54 a litre, this is going to cost about 14p a mile to run. The tax on this car is really cheap, relatively. It's about £180 for the year, which I think is really quite good. And the insurance on this car is pretty cheap as well. Servicing costs on this car, I think if you allow yourself £300, engine oil services on these cars every 18,000 miles or every 2 years. Brake fluid in this car is to be done after the first 3 years, and then after that every 2 years. It cost about £25,000 new. I personally wouldn't buy a brand new car, but this is my partner's car, and she's going to keep this for quite some time. So it works for her. The depreciation isn't that bad. So I believe this car is probably worth about £16,000 to £17,000 now. So you're probably talking about £9,000 in depreciation in 3 years. She got this on a PCP deal. It was over 5 years. It's about £275 a month over 5 years, with an £8,000 final payment at the end, and a very minimal deposit, if any. I think it was about £1,000 deposit, something like that. Also to mention, she bought this car in 2020, just after the first lockdown, or I think just before the first lockdown. She actually put the purchase in. So this car was actually one of the ones that was held on the production line while lockdown was happening, but I think that's another reason why she managed to get a really good deal on this. This has the comfort pack in it as well, so it has this armrest, the sat nav, CarPlay, everything like that. I do think that this armrest is a brilliant thing to have spec'd. CarPlay, again, definitely needed. The mini sat nav, never use it, because we just use Google Maps all the time, so I don't really see the point. All the switches are really premium. It's got heated seats, climate control, rear parking sensors as well, which I think is all quite good. It's got the little mini floodlights as well, so when you open the door, it has the little mini logo on the floor, which I think is all just quite little premium quality things that you don't get in some of the competitor cars. The climate control with the digital displays, fantastic. Everything just feels quality. We were looking at a Fiat 500, which I just thought was quite plasticky and not particularly great, whereas this just feels really nice. There's some other great features in this car which I really like. The lighting, I think, is very premium. You've got this really nice white light on the clock here, which goes with the rev counter of the car, especially when you're in sport mode. You've got other lighting for when you're turning the volume up and down on the stereo, that kind of thing, which I think at night especially really makes this fantastic. It's got all the different mood color lighting here as well. You can change it to different colors, greens, purples, that sort of stuff. And again, this adds to the ambience inside this car at night. It makes it a really nice place to be. So we were offered as well to swap this car out for one of the electric ones about a year or two ago, and to be honest, I just couldn't justify it. The petrol car gets such good miles to the gallon, it's so cheap to run, and the electric car just gets 110 miles range, which, okay, if she was just using it purely as a city car, then that would be absolutely fine. But occasionally we want to take this on a longer trip. We have done a few longer trips in this, and it gets a bit uncomfortable after 3-4 hours on the motorway, but we want to be able to have that option, and with the electric Mini you just don't get that. Okay, so one thing to mention about this car is visibility is pretty terrible. I think this is just a convertible thing rather than a Cooper thing, but some of the things will be shared. So for instance, on the back there, instead of having a larger rear window, you've got the fabric and then a smaller rear window, What that means is when you're trying to pull out of certain junctions, checking your blind spot is quite difficult because you just can't see properly. You'd think that that might get improved by putting the roof down, but because of the way the nature of the roof is, the roof actually sits on top of the boot. So what that means is it still blocks that visibility and still blocks that blind spot. The wind noise in this is quite bad, so obviously if you're on a highway, you can probably hear it now coming through on the audio, but it's really, really loud. The wind noise through the roof, and I think this is just a convertible issue, and most convertibles are louder than normal. However, in this it just feels like it is quite loud. It's quite distracting when you're doing sort of 70 miles an hour on the highway and you've got all this noise. It's not a particularly calm place to be when you just want to cruise long distances. The windscreen as well is quite small, and the A-pillars in this car is pretty large, so overall it is quite difficult to see and maneuver in this car, rather than maybe on the standard Cooper you'd get those bigger windows to be able to see out quite well. The other thing that is a bit annoying in this car is, even though I do think it's a really quite practical car, one of the issues I have with it is the actual boot system. So instead of having a normal hatchback, this boot has like a hatch that lowers on hinges from the bottom. You have to use their easy loader system, and also you have to move the parcel shelf up and down. So if you put the parcel shelf in its uppermost position, it means that you can't actually put the roof down, but it means you get more boot space. However, the easy loader handles that they use means that if you've got a couple of large suitcases in there, you can't, especially the hard-shelled suitcases, you can't actually close those easy loaders again. So you'll open the easy loader, put the suitcase in, go to close those easy loaders, and you can't actually get them past the suitcase, which is a bit annoying. If this was my car, I think I'd have probably gone for the Cooper S, even though it would have been still a daily city car. But my partner didn't really need the extra power, and to be honest, this provides enough of a punch that it's still enjoyable to drive. You can put this in sport mode and really have good fun with it. The handling's still really good. That gearbox, that automatic gearbox, is still really good. It can be a real pleasure to drive, especially on a nice sunny day, roof down. The exhaust note's actually not terrible for a little 1.5 litre. If I've got to go into town, multi-storey car park, this is the car that I will take. This car was, as I said, £25,000, but with the optional comfort pack, nav pack, and the automatic gearbox. The automatic gearbox does add quite a premium to it. So that's why we've got this white colour here. So this is the standard cream. They don't charge any extra for this colour. You can pay to option, I think it's like £500 to £1,000 for some of the different colour options, and to be honest, by the time we'd got to the spec we wanted with the gearbox and everything, we were already pushing the top of the budget, and it would have been £27,000 to have optioned in a different colour and also a different set of alloy wheels. So these alloy wheels are the standard ones that you get without paying any extra. As a driving experience, I think this is a great little car. I think it's good fun. I could see myself taking this on a road trip, to be honest. You could do a nice Euro trip in this, especially the convertible. If you're there going through the Alps in this with the roof down on a decent day, the view, the skyline would be absolutely incredible. And it packs just enough of a punch for it to still be an engaging drive. As I say, it's about 130 odd horsepower, 0 to 68, 8.5 seconds. It's just enough that you can enjoy it, but not so much that it starts to break the bank in terms of your tax, your fuel costs, and that kind of thing.